What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Did we lower our guard? I can't be certain, but I sense impending calamity.
What course of action should we take?
Delia shared his concern. Beside her, Emil, eavesdropping on their telepathic exchange, appeared equally anxious.
Let's wait a little while. I'll confer with Amari Masahiko.
Pulcinella preferred avoiding a unilateral decision. The commander class, the most astute leaders of Cornu's squad, had integrated themselves into the brightest human intellects of this world. Amari Masahiko was one such individual, and seeking counsel from a fellow commander like Pulcinella seemed entirely reasonable. The resolution they reached was,
We're pulling back. An unexpected turn of events demands that we disengage from all ongoing operations. The plan is to regroup in Atlantis and thoroughly reassess our strategies. Any questions?
None, sir.
Delia responded promptly. Emil agreed, and with that, the Yoma halted all their initiatives, choosing to reconvene on their native turf. Amari Masahiko, upon receiving Pulcinella's report, discerned that events were not progressing favorably. They were all indomitable. From the vantage point of both Yoma and the humans they inhabited, they stood on the brink of world domination. Once they solidified their dominion over humanity, they would culminate their efforts by summoning Cornu, reshaping the planet into a launching pad for their future conquests. While space was vast, it paled in comparison to the universe they hailed from. With corporeal forms at their disposal, they could conceivably conquer this entire dimension over thousands to tens of thousands of years. In doing so, they would construct a new underworld gate to the next dimension, aspiring to further plunder. However, they were currently facing complications. Amari was convinced that an unknown factor was at play, one they had yet to identify.
Well, what shall we do now?
Li Jinlong and David Reagan both responded to his abrupt question.
Is something amiss?
You appear contemplative. I thought everything was proceeding according to plan. Is there an issue of concern?
Amari turned to them and elucidated the situation. The disappearance of the Rossiam royal family and the leaders of the Chinese territories, for reasons unknown, led him to suspect an external influence.
Aren't you perhaps overthinking this?
It is indeed a matter of concern, but is it truly significant enough to warrant a complete suspension of our operations?
Li openly dismissed the notion, and David audibly questioned whether Amari was displaying excessive timidity. Yet Amari remained steadfast.
We wield formidable power indeed, but omnipotence eludes us. The slightest lapse in vigilance could imperil the entire invasion. This is our opportunity to gather as much intelligence as possible. Connect with our contacts in the remaining 3 nations, and collect information. We need to scrutinize the situation with the leaders of the other world.
Following this directive, the trio parted ways. Once his 2 comrades had departed, Amari leaned back in his office chair, lost in thought.
The same situation in Arsen. The imperial family, along with the rest of the 7 sacred treasures, has vanished.
In Azalea, the president and his close associates have gone silent. No records indicate their departure from the White House, yet they are nowhere to be found within.
There's been heightened security in the Empire of Japan's conquest. I attempted to breach the administrative zone, including the palace, but I encountered insurmountable obstacles.
Before issuing orders to Li and David, Amari had already set his own teams in motion on the ground. Whenever something raised his suspicions, he preferred to take immediate action, and his doubts were swiftly confirmed.
Azalea and Arcia seem unaffected, but my concern centers on Japan. I had assigned one of our company officer class Yoma for covert operations there, but could Gensei be thwarting him? No, that's implausible. Gensei may excel in combat, but he's no counter-espionage expert.
Gensei, Amari's mentor, ranked among the world's premier sword-fighting talents. While he lacked proficiency in spellcasting, the Imperial Palace Spellcaster Guard would have struggled to thwart the Yoma's covert activities in his absence. If the Yoma had initiated a confrontation and been discovered, resulting in a battle, it would have been understandable. However, being unable to even approach the palace raised significant concerns.
Now what's the next move?
Pulcinella and the others had received orders to return immediately and would teleport in after concluding their tasks. By then, David and Li would likely have been briefed on the developments, and they would soon convene to discuss future strategies. However, this was not what troubled Amari.
Who am I really?
A Yoma of the commander class had taken control of Amari Masahiko, yet the assimilation process lingered. Despite gaining access to most of the body's abilities, doubt crept in. Or had he? Amari Masahiko and Kondu had been inseparable friends and rivals, matched evenly in spiritual power. This fact made Amari question his own identity.
Am I genuinely a Yoma? Or perhaps...
Humans in this world lacked magicule support, making them physically weaker but spiritually resilient. In contrast, many Yoma were former angels who, in lower classes, were essentially obedient drones. Their weak sense of self left them vulnerable to human influence, potentially reversing the phantom hierarchy. Amari keenly understood these dynamics, unsettling his core. These principles applied to him as well. Formerly committed to Cornu's resurrection, he now contemplated destroying the underworld gate. This could make him the ruler or allow Pulcinella to take the throne, preventing Yoma invaders. The idea of humans governing held newfound appeal. These audacious thoughts remained hidden in his mind. Yet, he wondered if others shared this internal conflict. Amari's Yoma memories revealed his origin as a cherubim, created by Veldanava, the Star King dragon, tasked with serving Cornu. Despite his immense powers, equivalent to an awakened demon lord in certain worlds, questions about existence troubled him. Recognizing his internal conflict, Amari suspected others faced similar struggles. Complex questions about friendships and enmities arose. Was appointing Pulcinella as king the right decision? Answering this question seemed nearly impossible now. Insufficient information left Amari grappling with indecision. He postponed the matter, and that precise moment coincided with an aide's announcement that everyone had gathered.
So, can we safely say that all the world's leaders and high-ranking officials are nowhere to be found?
Some are still lingering for precision's sake.
Those who remain can be disregarded. We should assume that everyone with the authority to enact policies in their respective nations has gathered in the conquering empire. The human race seems poised for a counter-offensive.
I won't argue with that.
When the two leaders in the room reached a consensus, further discussion became unnecessary.
Shall we deploy our fleet to Japan then?
The Yoma's presence on Atlantis was no secret to humans, and the Yoma aimed to entice them eventually. Military personnel, being more suitable vessels, were preferable to abducting the general public. However, if something unsettling was happening in Japan, the situation changed rapidly. They could have sent a sizable offensive force and observed the outcome. Still, Amari Masahiko grappled with a nagging fear that he was overlooking a critical element. The world seemed within their grasp because no one on this planet possessed significant power. But was that truly the case? If that assumption proved wrong, it would require a fundamental re-evaluation of the entire operation.
Just to be clear,
Amari asserted,
I urge each of you to draw upon your knowledge. Is it genuinely the case that there are no formidable individuals left in this world?
That's a given.
Responded Li Jinlong confidently.
The only potential threat among us is Yanhua.
His unwavering assurance only intensified Amari's unease.
Wait a moment. Allow me to pose this question. Who trained Yanhua?
That?
From my research, I discovered that she has been instructed in the Dragon Fist style, exclusively passed down from master to a single student. It is rumored that this style encompasses undisclosed techniques known only to its practitioners.
Yes, indeed. That's precisely why her skills surpass the norm.
But how did these techniques originate? The style's inception can be traced back to an individual named Long. Is there any information available about him?
This question led Li to delve into the memories stored in his body. Though not chosen as the next master, he had achieved an advanced level of proficiency in the Dragon Fist, granting him some insight into its founder.
I recall from our sacred texts that he was inspired to create this style by a remarkable woman named Long Huang. However, what I read mainly consisted of oral traditions. I'm uncertain about its practicality.
I see.
An unsettling feeling festered within Amari. Normally, an ancient, unverified biography like this wouldn't have unsettled him, but something about it gnawed at his thoughts.
Actually,
Delia chimed in, recalling a detail.
I remember a legend about a goddess who guided the original founder of Arcia.
Rather than alleviating Amari's concerns, Delia's revelation cast a pall over the room, sending a shiver down her spine. Since her transformation into a Yoma, she had steadfastly resisted being swayed by emotions, a trait she considered human. Nevertheless, the significance of this memory disconcerted her.
And this goddess's name?
Cardina! She identified herself as Cardinal, derived from the deep red hue symbolizing her, but she later became more commonly known as Cardina.
The term cardinal struck a chord. Delving into his Yoma memories, Amari recalled that Velgrind, the Scorched Dragon, had adopted that name for a time, inspired by the color of her aura.
What a coincidence. Velgrind the Scorched Dragon is supposed to inhabit the same demi-material key world as Lord Feldway. I heard she was entirely infatuated with Emperor Rudra. With no inkling of our true objectives, there's no way she could be on this world.
Even as one of Cornu's commanders, Amari had never had the privilege of conversing with Feldway, the Phantom King, a deity-like figure to him. He had to rely on indirect sources, but they had conveyed that their operations in the key world were proceeding smoothly. Velgrund was utterly devoted to Rudra, never straying from his side, and that was non-negotiable. Picturing her on this planet seemed implausible, yet Amari couldn't dispel the notion that she might somehow be involved. Delia's pained expression hinted that this conversation was far from concluded.
Is there nothing else?
He inquired. Delia responded by showcasing her spear.
This weapon is a sacred treasure, supposedly forged by that goddess. It holds immense power, but even I cannot fully harness it.
The declaration sent shockwaves through both Amari and the others in the room. It was a known fact that a Yoma of the general class could wield a legendary class weapon with the familiarity of their own limbs. If Delia couldn't achieve that level of mastery over this spear, it indicated that it was of the god-class caliber.
Could a world starved of magicules like this truly produce a god-class weapon? And not just one, but the stories suggest there were originally 12. I'm intimately familiar with the sacred treasures that my former comrades wielded, and I sense that they belong to the same tier as this one.
So there are 12 god-class weapons in this world?
Yes, yet I doubt any of the others were able to extract more than a fraction of the weapon's potential.
That isn't the main concern.
Amari wanted to exclaim, but realizing it wouldn't resolve the issue, he opted for a change of topic.
The crux here is that, at some point, there existed someone on this planet capable of producing god-class equipment.
Oh, come on! These are all just myths.
Could you please think before you speak? You're more astute than that. You have tangible evidence right in your grasp, and you still won't consider it.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Nate, Jason Martin, Zach Rawson, Jerry Sladek, Ray Perez, Smexy, Carl Stephen Bernadelle, Gareth Hashimoto, Steven Madison, Home Like Drop, Vastolord, Martin Ramos, Anselmo. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.